All right, guys, we're going to move on with statistics. Now we're going to get more into the data gathering note. So like how do we collect data in statistics and get our results? So it's going to be a lot of vocabulary today, not as much math. There's a whole lot of vocab, a whole lot of understanding how to collect data. Okay, so surveys are often conducted to gather data about a population. A population is the entire group of people or objects that you want the information about. A census is a survey of the entire population. So like I think every 10 years, they do the United States Census, which means they actually count how many people are in the United States. Okay, they do it over 10 years because it's a lot of people. So a census is a survey of an entire population. When it's too difficult, expensive, or time-consuming to conduct that census, a sample or part of the population is surveyed. So a census is everybody. Samples are surveyed to try and figure out about the population, okay? So if I want to know something about the entire school of Lincoln, but I'm not able to survey every single student, I might survey, I don't know, I'll try to get everyone's first period. Or maybe I'll just do the seniors and the sophomores. As a sample to try to get an idea of what the whole population would be. All right. All right, so some first little vocab chunk for you. So population is everything. Okay. Sample is a subset of the population, so it's part of it. It's not just some random group of people. It's part of the population you're trying to get information for. Census is given to everybody in the population. A survey is more of a questionnaire to that sample size. And what we're about to look at, a random sample, is when everyone in the population has the same probability of being chosen. And then representative means that the sample is representative if it mirrors or if it represents the composition of people in the population. Okay, this is the only way to increase the likelihood of obtaining a representation sample is to use random methods in choosing this sample. So there are right ways and wrong ways of choosing the sample that you're going to survey. All right. All right, so right here, let's just see if we can figure out the difference between sample and population. Our car factory just manufactured a load of 6,000 cars. The quality control team randomly chooses 60 cars and tests their air conditioners. They discover that 2 of the air conditioners do not work. So what's considered the population? What's the entire piece? Well, the entire piece is going to be all 6,000, right, cars that they got. The sample, so what was the piece they took out of that? They took 60 cars, so that's your sample, okay? This 2 of the air conditioners that don't work, that's the result of the survey, okay? That's not the population or the sample, that's the result. All right, so I want you to pause and try to answer the next multiple choice one. A cookie factory supervisor wants to compare how well 4 different machines work. One day he tests every 30th chocolate chip cookie produced by each machine to see if it meets the company's requirements or not. Which best describes the population that he wants to study? I'm going to give you a second, read your answers, and see which answer choice you want to pick for the population. All right, you should have picked B. The problem with part A, it says all the chocolate chip cookies produced by only one of the machines. Well, that's not going to be the population. That's just one of the machines. All chocolate chip cookies produced by each of the 4 machines. Okay, that's including all the machines. And what does it say? It says right here, 30th chocolate chip cookie. All the oatmeal raisin cookies produced by each of the 4 machines will know because he's not looking at oatmeal raisin right now. He's looking at all the chocolate chip cookies. And then D, all the cookies he selects. So was it the every 30th cookie from each machine? No, that's technically the sample that he picked. That's the sample he picked out of the population of all the chocolate chip cookies. All right. So now let's just decide what is a good way and not a good way to pick our samples. Okay. So when every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected, okay, this is called a random sample. Okay, this is the best way to do it. So examples, these are the ones we like, are going to be simple random sample, which is like pulling a name out of a hat kind of a thing, stratified, cluster, and systematic. These are all most likely to represent the population if we choose these ways to pick our samples. So let's go into more detail. A simple random sample. This is a random process where everyone's equally likely to be selected. So it's like picking someone's name out of a hat. A researcher draws a participant, providing names are shuffled very well and the hat is not too small. There's also like random number generators that you can use to make sure that it's as random as possible to select people, so everyone gets a number. Each number is possibly has the same possibility of being picked, and then you use a random number generator or like a spinner or like picking popsicles out of a cup, whatever. That's all simple random sample. Okay. The next one is stratified. Stratified is students are in groups. Okay. And then some people from each group is picked. So if I think of everyone's second period class, and I randomly pick 2 people from every second period, okay, you're singled out from a group. That is random. Okay? Everyone has the same opportunity again. Everyone has a second period class that's on campus. So everyone has the equal opportunity of being chosen. I'm just picking 2 out of each group, which is our second period. Cluster is if I pick a whole group, okay? So we are in groups, but now I'm going to randomly pick 15 different second period classes to survey. Okay, that is a cluster sample. The whole group gets picked. Systematic is a random process that uses some kind of a rule or some kind of system. So like every 6th person to gather information. Okay, the multiple choice one we just did, he was doing every 30th chocolate chip cookie. That was a systematic way. There was a pattern or a rule that he was following. All right. And then we have our 2 that are not, they are not going to be random. They're not going to represent, okay? These are called, that's why they have sad faces. These are called convenience and self-selected. And sadly enough, you're going to notice all the surveys you can kind of think of that actually happen are one of these samples. So convenient sample. It's not random. You're just choosing people who are convenient to choose from, like my friends, or the first 30 people that walk into my classroom. It's considered the lazy method. Okay, I'm going to survey the people in the cafeteria because that's where I'm going to be in 10 minutes. Okay, it's convenient for me for them to just be there. There's no other reasoning for it. Okay, and then there's self-selected. This is not random because participants themselves choose whether or not to take the survey. So they call in, like all the TV shows, American Idol, my favorite, Dancing with the Stars. I mean, every time where you have to vote, people have to call or text to vote for people, these are all self-selected. That's technically not a good way to collect data. Obviously, people who care extreme one way or the other are going to be the ones who do call in and vote. But it's not a random sample because people are choosing to do so. All right. Think about it. How do we pick our president? People choose to go to the polls, right, to make a vote. And it's usually people who have an extreme feeling about one way or the other. So, I mean, I don't know how to fix it. I don't have an answer how to fix the way that we do our elections in this country. But it is self-selected because you can't force people to do it, obviously, free country. But that is technically a self-selected method of how we choose our leaders. Okay. So, here we go. Directions. Which type of sampling method is described below? Okay, so we're going to choose from simple random sample, stratified, cluster, systematic, convenience, and self-selected. And then we're going to decide if it's going to be a representation of students or not. Sorry, it keeps saying Mill Creek and MCHS. That was my first school that I taught at, and so that's why I keep saying Mill Creek. So I apologize. It's just a high school. So Drew gets the names of all second period teachers at the high school. He puts their names in a hat, and then he draws 10 names. He goes to their classrooms and surveys every student in their rooms. Okay, so how is he choosing what he surveys? He is randomly putting teachers' names in a hat and drawing them, but then who does he survey? He surveys the whole class. So this is considered a cluster sample, okay? And this is it representative? Yes, it is, okay? Because it is random. It's one of our good ways to get a sample size, all right? This is a cluster example, and yes, it is representative of the population. All right, Andrew gets the roster of all second period teachers. He assigns each student in each class a number, and then uses his calculator to randomly choose 2 students from every second period class to survey. All right, so everyone gets a number. He randomly chooses 2 students from every second period. So he's picking students out of a group, right? So this is going to be the stratified method, and that was one of our good ones. Yes, it is going to represent the school. He's getting a little bit out of each class. All right. We have Terry. Terry wakes up at 4 a.m. and goes to school. He sits at the front door and surveys the first 50 students who enter the building from the front door. Okay? Well, he's just asking people who are close to him. This is definitely convenience. Okay? This is not going to represent the school, because think about how many entries there are to a school. Number one, not everyone goes through the front doors, right? There's side doors. Some people, maybe the bus ramp. The bus ramp's on the side of the building, right? But this is not going to represent the school. It is very convenient for Terry to just ask people who are just walking in the front door. That's not going to represent the school. All right, Alex gets a list of names of every student and assigns each one a unique number. Then uses a random number feature on his calculator to choose 50 students to survey. Yes, this is going to be our simple random sample. Okay, so this will represent the school. Everyone has an equal opportunity to be chosen. Okay, so everyone gets a unique number, a random number generator to see which ones to get picked. This is great. This is the best way. If you can do it, this is the best way to do it. Let's just say Adrian goes to the cafeteria and announces to all students that the first 50 people who participate in his survey will receive a free ice cream. He allows the students to come to him that choose to participate. So they are choosing to participate. This is going to be self-selected. They're choosing whether or not to do it. So this is not going to represent the school. Self-selected is bad. All right, Chris gets an alphabetical list of the names of every student and assigns each one a unique number. He uses a random number generator on his calculator to pick the first student that he surveys. And then from there, he picks every 10th student. Okay, so there's a rule going on, right? There's a system, so this is systematic. And this will represent the school. Okay, so here's a clear, detailed example of each kind of ways to get your samples. All right, let's see if you pay attention. Which of the following is not going to represent the population? Is it convenience, stratified, simple random sample, or is it cluster? Which one is not going to represent the population? Think which one is not random. Convenience. Convenience is not random. Remember, that's the lazy one where you just kind of survey people who are close. All right, so that one is the bad one. Okay. More reasons to not pick things. A non-random sample can always result in a biased sample if there is overrepresentation or underrepresentation, okay? So sometimes even randomly selected samples could be biased if they were not chosen from the entire population. So we got to watch out, okay? So bias is a sample. It's not going to represent everything. Underrepresentation is when one or more of the parts of the population are left out. And then over is when there's a greater emphasis placed on one or more of the parts being surveyed. Okay? So number one, a survey of, so these are biased. It tells you, why is the following method biased? And is it over or under? So a survey of a city's residents is conducted by asking 20 randomly selected people at a grocery store whether the city should impose a beverage tax. Okay, so we know it's biased. Okay, why is it biased? We did 20 random people. How do we know? Is this the only grocery store? Is there more than one grocery store? Right? So it's only one grocery store that's being chosen. And they're asking people at a grocery store about a beverage tax. Okay, if you're going to the grocery store, that's where they probably sell beverages. So you are over-representing people who purchase the beverage. Okay, so they're going to have a strong opinion about whether or not to have a tax on something they're already buying. So they're probably going to say no. They don't want to be taxed on something that they're already buying. In online news, that number one would be an over-representation, I would say. An online news site asks readers to take a brief survey about whether they subscribe to a daily newspaper. Okay, well, what's wrong with this? It's an online news site, right? Online news, if they're asking if people get an actual newspaper. Well, if people are already coming to this website to get their news, then they're probably not getting an actual newspaper. Does that make sense? So they are underrepresenting the people who get the newspaper. They're not getting a piece of a sample of everybody. They're solely asking people who go online to get news. They're definitely leaving something out. Okay, so this would definitely be underrepresenting the news people. They're very much only looking at the online news people. Okay, a car dealer wants to know what percentage of the population in the area is planning to buy a car in the next year. The dealer surveys the next 15 people who come to the car lot. Are the results likely to be representative of the population? So this one, okay, this one is definitely biased. Okay, I would say this is underrepresenting the population because he wants to know the population in the whole area that's going to be buying a car. He surveys only 15 people that come to a car lot. If you're coming to a car lot, you're probably looking to buy a car, right? So he's you can do both. I would say he's representing the town, but he's also over-representing because he's emphasizing on just people coming to a car lot. So you could argue both here. And that's what's important about these questions. If you can explain your choice, then it's really hard to get these wrong, okay? Explain to me why you pick one over the other. So I could argue underrepresentation because it's only 15 people out of a whole area. That's not a lot. Granted, I don't know how big the area is. And then we could also say overrepresentation because he's only asking people who are coming to a car lot. So they obviously are planning on buying a car. They're coming to a car lot. All right. All right, we got some more multiple choice ones. I want you to pause and try both of these. Let's go ahead and pause down here. All right, how did you do? For the first one, Connor is collecting data to discover the average number of books that high school boys read in each week in his town. So what's the best sample he should use? So the problem with part of answer choice A is that it's only looking at people in his high school. Okay, so that's the problem with answer choice A. Answer choice C, he is randomly picking 50 people, okay, but he's only doing sophomores. He's not doing all high school boys. And then part D, the problem here, he is randomly selecting people, but He's only doing baseball teams. Okay, so he should randomly pick 50 people from all the high schools in his town. That's the best random sample for him to choose that represents everybody in the town. Part C, Alexis wants to know if all male students prefer a different flavor of ice cream over the female students. Okay, she wants to do 2 different samples. So should she pick every other student who walks into her first period class until she gets 5 boys and 5 girls? No, that's convenience. It's her first period, and it's only 1 class. Okay, so that's not going to work. Part C surveys her entire first period class and then divides the results into boys and girls. Again, that's kind of convenient, right? It's her first period. It wasn't randomly picked. She chose the one she was already in. That's convenient. That's lazy. Part D picks 5 randomly selected males from her first period and 5. There's a common thread here. The problem again, she picked her first period. Okay, it's not random. There was no random at all between A, C, or D. Part B, though, puts every student's name into a hat, shakes it, and draws until she gets 50 girls and 50 boys. That is the best way to get her sample. It's completely random. Okay, A, C, and D, they were all convenient samples. All right, so that is it for our data gathering stuff. You do have 2 worksheets. One is a crossword puzzle that is going to be, let me pull it up here. It's a crossword puzzle. It's going to be all the vocabulary that we just used in these notes. So if you're not sure what words to use, go back through your notes. Everything that has a definition is going to be part of the crossword. It's thinking, hold on. There we go. There we go. All right, so every vocabulary word that we use during our notes today in this video is going to be part of this crossword puzzle, okay? If you use more than one word, like simple, random, sample, there's going to be a space between simple, space, random, space, sample. So a square could represent a space. So watch out. Yeah, everything here is going to fill in this beautiful crossword puzzle. And then up here we have matching going on. So here's all the different ways that we can collect data. I want you to match all of them with the different descriptions. And then I want you to decide 7 and 8, are they biased, yes or no? And then tell me why you chose what you chose. 9 and 10, are these going to represent the whole population? Tell me why, yes or no. Explain your answer. Don't do this yet. We haven't done this yet. Just go to 10. All right, just go to 10. We haven't done predicting yet. So just go to 10 and then stop. All right. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, good luck. Y'all can do it.